We talked about this a little bit before we started recording, and our members are here with us for this episode. But this one felt like one of those things that we shouldn't be privy to, at the end of this episode.
It's also nearly impossible to understand situations like this, knowing who Jax is as a person. So it's sort of like conflicting feelings all over the place. You want to feel bad, but you don't feel bad. And then you feel yourself pulling you back to a different way. It just doesn't really make any sense. I don't know what to do, but we're going to call this a little therapy session. How about that? It's for us more than it is for them.
Yeah.
Bros and shows. I gotta have me my bros and shows. Bros and shows. Bros and shows. I gotta have me my bros and shows.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Bros and Shows. I'm your co-host, Steele Russell, joined as always by the one and only Scoot till you shoot. What's up, dude?
God, if that came out clean, I would have liked it a lot.
Okay, I'll work on it.
Really would have enjoyed that. Not a whole lot. We've got ourselves a little live members audience for this one to recap the Valley, and what a doozy we have to try to be able to trudge through. I don't know where we're going to start. I don't know where we're going to end. I don't know how I'm going to feel along the way, but it's going to be interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah, you mentioned it earlier. It's like, this is tough, and this is tough for somebody in my position in recovery watching this whole thing play out, because obviously you have somebody in the throes of addiction. But I'll get into that side of things as we get further along and my thoughts and feelings on the matter. I do know he's going through an addiction, but I do not think that that's an excuse for a lot of this stuff. And we'll get into the nuances of it, like I said, a little bit later. But it was a hard episode to watch. And I think that's something that resonated throughout the community as I've been reading comments and things like that. A lot of people had similar reactions. They were sick to their stomach. You felt a pit. It was physically difficult to watch the end of this episode and what we were led in to see. And I think that it was important for a lot of reasons to show that side of things. But I also understand the difficulty in seeing something like that play out on your TV screen. But it was a heavy episode. Everything else that was going on, we'll take that stuff and put it over here until we get to it. This show rocks. It is so good. This cast is so good. There's people you love, people you hate. There's people you should hate but can't help but love. You get everything.
Yeah, it is a full... It's really hard to nail down exactly what's going on with this show. There's so much to try to dig into. There's so many storylines. It's almost like one of those movies that have all of these stories, sort of like Game of Thrones, where there's a million different storylines going on and you're getting invested in all these characters all over the place. And you're like, where are we going to meet? At what point are all of these people going to meet? And I can't wait to see what happens. We're getting that in a reality TV show. And it's crazy because they all have their own personal storylines going on. They all have their own personal relationship things. There's personal friendships at risk. And then somewhere in the middle, they all kind of converge. And it's really well done in a way for a lot of people who haven't been on reality TV before. And I think it's really just them living their lives. And we know that these people know each other and they've been hanging out for years. We're just kind of seeing a lot of it imploding. We're seeing a lot of it kind of expand on, certain friendships. It's really crazy to watch.
It's interesting you said that, because the timing in which we picked up on this friend group is very interesting, because when we came into this world in this humble little valley situation that we found ourselves in, the whole group is imploding. We have marriages falling apart. We have friendships falling apart. I don't know if you can equate that to the show. I mean, Jesse and Michelle were clearly on the way out regardless. Jax and Britney as well.
Jesse's way better without Michelle now.
We will get to that. I have a lot to talk about with the Jesse and Michelle scene. Let's just say I'm leaning more towards your team than I used to be. After that,
there's room. There's room on the bus.
There's room on the Jesse train.
Uh-huh.
Anyone's welcome on the Jesse train. Come on over. But the last thing I want to say before we jump into this, since we have our members here, and if you want to join our members program and be part of the next live stream, we do one every week recapping an episode. Go to the link in our bio or go to thebros.memberful.com and sign up. It's $5 for the month, $50 for the year. As you know, we have moved our news recaps to our main feed so that we can give that to the masses. What we're replacing that with, and the exclusive episode we're going to give to our members now, is a rewatch. We're going to go back in the archives. We're starting from season 1, episode 1 of an OG franchise. We're leaning towards Roni right now. We're going to start next week, so we have time to be persuaded otherwise. I know there's a lot of great franchises we need to start from, but
We have not discussed this at all, by the way. I love that.
We did talk about it. We sat here, and I said probably Roni.
You said it yesterday, and I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever.
I said it to you. No, whoa.
Discuss it at all.
Just because you laugh when you do this does not make it untrue. What happened was I said to you, can I go now? Am I allowed to talk now?
Steele? It's not your fault. Okay. It's all right. It's okay.
Bro, shut up. I'm going to pull your mustache off. I'm going to pull your mustache off and tape it to your eyebrows. All right?
Somebody in our chat asked why we don't do these live. It's so that I can get away with shit like this. I'm just going to hang out over here.
I hate
poke
this.
The bear.
What happened was I said to you, you're already rewatching Roni, so it makes a lot of sense that we just watch that. And you said, yeah, that's a good point. We didn't hammer it down. I'll give you that. We didn't say we're definitely doing Roni. That's why I just said we're probably doing Roni. We have time to be persuaded otherwise. Dick. Sheesh.
I say we let them vote on it.
That's fine. I'm fine with that. But we didn't get there because you keep poking me, and I feel like Facebook. Just
because you want to run an authoritarian members group, you know. All right, why don't we get into the show, huh?
Let's talk about this episode. Oh my god. We start out with Janet, Jason, Britney, and Jazz, and they're talking. That's her nickname apparently. We're tight like that. But they're getting together for breakfast and they're recapping what happened at the white party. And I will also give this to Jasmine. Breakfast casserole is 100% a white people thing. It is. Breakfast casserole, it is. Some of them are good. I'm not a huge fan of breakfast casserole. I'd rather
care for them at all.
I don't really either. Like I'd rather.
It is kind of weird though, right? Because I guess if you do it in a casserole dish, I don't know. Because I really like breakfast sandwiches. So isn't that kind of the same thing? Except instead of it just being alone, there's.
Well, you know what
bread
the
on
problem
either
is.
side?
The problem is the egg takes over everything. It's just like an eggy bite. And like I like eggs. I feel
like the meat never gets cooked enough too, because right? So like you got to crisp up that bacon or sausage or pork roll or whatever you're throwing on there. You got to put it in there the right way. It just never works out. And I blame white people for that.
I do too. We'll take the blame.
Lack of seasonings and cooking ability.
We'll take the blame. But anyway, they're recapping the white party, and it's so fascinating to me to watch Janet retell stories from her perspective, because it's not what happened. And the way that she frames it is that Doute was just being completely unreasonable. She's like, I apologize to Kristen. She minimizes the podcast comments that she said. She's like, I think that I also referenced her when I was talking about Zack. It's like, no, you said that Kristen also doesn't want your baby to go to term, which is insane to lump her in with what Zack had said to you. That's not fair to her. And then you retell it to these guys, and you're framing it a totally different way, which also leads into the rift that we're going to talk about between Britney and Zack. If this is the stories that Britney's getting from Janet, it makes a lot of sense why there's now this little divide between those two.
Yeah, and I think that, and we will get into the Zack and Kristen, the Zack and Britney part of it too, because I do feel like Zack is doing himself a disservice by not talking about it with Britney a little bit more. He feels like maybe, this is just, let's repair our friendship and do this and that. The reason why your friendship isn't as close as it was before is because Janet's wedged her way in there with all of this, and she's pulling Britney to her side. So you need to get out in front of that. You need to start talking about it, because the more I see it, and look, the timing of it, obviously terrible. Zack was very fucking mixed up. He was all over the place. He was very emotional. The more they show that clip, I know exactly what he means.
So
he wasn't saying, I hope that you don't go full term. I hope that you don't actually have this baby. He was saying, I don't give a shit if this is what she's going through or this is what she's saying. I'm pissed off. That's what he's saying. Is the timing awful? Yes, it sucks. Should he apologize for it? Of course he should apologize for it, whether it's on camera or not. But he didn't say what now you're spewing on this podcast. He didn't go that. You're filling in words. You're paraphrasing and adding more and adding more to the context that really wasn't there. It was just the timing of it all. And yes, he should feel bad for it, should feel sorry, and should apologize. But the way that you're doing this and now dragging Doute into it, Doute has nothing to do with this. Why? Because she sided with Zack because
She's
you
friends with
told
him.
her that she's not allowed at the baby moon and Zack's not allowed at the baby moon. That's what started this whole thing. So I don't really understand why Doute's getting lumped into this. And we all watched the same scene last week. You were just trying to do what Janet does in every situation, tell a story in only a way that Janet can, that tries to bring that person on their side to go after a quote unquote common enemy. You want Kristen to turn on Zack. You want to just downplay what, it's just say, Kristen, you're okay. Everything's all right. But Zack was demonic. Now we need to go after Zack. It's like, no, she's not going to flip on her friends because that's not what friends do. And if you had true friends of your own, Janet, you would probably know that, but you don't.
And in response here, and to build on what you said, because it's funny you brought that up. I agree. The more I've seen it, the more I'm like, oh, okay, I get what he was doing. And Zoe in our comments said, Zack said he didn't care in response to Michelle saying she could lose her baby, though. I know that's how it appears. I think he's saying, I don't care that I'm gassed up right now. I don't think he's saying, I don't care if I cause her to miscarry. He's saying, I don't give a shit. I'm heated because she's being annoying. I think the context was brutal. I think he owes her all of the apologies, but I don't think that the implication was what it came off like. I really don't. And I attribute that, like you said, to seeing it so many times. Now I'm like, oh, it's different the more you watch it. It's like he was just irritated at the whole situation. Like, I think he was
answering something that Michelle was saying, a sentence or two before. I mean, we've all been heated. We've all been in those situations, especially if you have a couple of drinks. You're not really listening to what the other person's saying. You're just kind of venting. You may have caught a little bit of this and that. And at the time that Michelle was saying, yeah, you could cause her to miscarry, he already was thinking, I don't care. So I think he was saying, I don't care about her being overstressed or the fact that she's pregnant, which, to be fair, last year, and this has nothing to do with all of the bad comments part of it, when Janet was going through all of that, she was saying, I can't get involved in all this toxicity. I'm pregnant, guys. So she was giving herself an out. So to be fair, if you're in that friendship group and she's doing that constantly, you're like, I'm so tired of hearing that she's pregnant. I don't care. She doesn't get to treat people like this. I think that's what he's saying. And then obviously, the context of everything else that Michelle was saying kind of comes out. And then they kind of run with it. But it's still, again, he still has to apologize. He should still feel sorry, especially after watching it. And I'm sure he's seen it before. So, like, at least just reach out and be like, look, I shouldn't have said that. I was heated. I shouldn't have gotten that deep into it. I didn't mean that at all. I hope you would think that I wouldn't mean that. Try to get there probably before the podcast goes, because that's brutal.
Yeah, I think that it was a big it doesn't take away from what he said. I agree. It sounded horrible. But I don't think that he was actually saying, I don't care if she doesn't go to term. That would be insane. But she is stuck on the fact that she wants Kristen to admit wrongdoing. What has Kristen done wrong? Because she talked about the Republican racist comment that she made last season. Are we still on that? We need wrongdoing for that? Like, she just tries to find things, dude. She just tries to find little things to hold on to. It's so funny watching the comments come in from Twitter and Instagram. Nobody likes her. Nobody's falling for the shtick of like what she's trying to do. The two-facedness, if you will, is so blatantly obvious when you watch her talk to this group versus the conversation that we witnessed with Doute and her in the last episode. So it makes a lot of sense.
And dude, she must have done something to Nia too. Did you watch the Watch What Happens Live with Doute?
No.
All of the questions were like, who's the most toxic person in the group? Who's the least trustworthy person in the group? Nia was firmly saying Janet, even though she said multiple times, I don't really want to answer. I don't really want to say this. I don't want to do that. When it came to a Janet question, she's like, oh, Janet, immediately. So her and Kristen have gotten real tight. And I think that Janet probably does something to Nia later down the line that we've seen in the trailer where Nia kind of like flips out a little bit. It's probably from Janet. So if you're going to do something to Nia, who seems like, by the way, the nicest person in the world, you're going to say something to her? No, we're not doing that.
No, you leave her alone. Leave her and Danny alone.
Her and Danny, leave them alone.
I have actually...
They are, by the way, they did move.
They did? Good for them.
They got their mini mansion. Yep.
That was the compromise. Good for them. I love that. See, that's a healthy marriage right there.
It sure
I have
is.
a lot of bones to pick with the dudes in this group, though, watching how this whole thing played out. I have a lot of shit to tell, especially Danny and Jason, because they pissed me off a lot. But it's interesting to hear that Britney and Jasmine, they have too much going on. There's way too much. They're like, look, you can tell they're done with this topic. They're like, Britney's dealing with her shit.
Mhm.
Anybody that has anything going on, they're like, all right, you guys are grown-ups. Go figure this out. I don't have time for it, which I'm glad, because I don't care anymore. I really don't. Like, this is from last year. It's time to move on. It's a new season. Let's move the fuck on. But speaking of moving on, we get to Jax and Kristen, and Kristen comes in to check on him / check him a little bit, and he's going through the situation once more. We've heard this, but every time that we hear a retelling of this, something else gets added to it. So originally, he flipped a table. Now he threw a chair and a cup. It's like, okay, well, that's more than we thought had happened. Later on, Britney talks about him punching holes in the wall. So it's more and more
I think
escalation.
It started at a coffee table, didn't it? He flipped a coffee table, then it was chairs, and they kind of panned over to those bar stool type of chairs that were over there, and it looked like one of them was damaged, so he's probably flipping those around. There's holes in the wall, so it keeps escalating, and then you got to wonder, like, where did it actually get to? And obviously, we're hearing what we think is the worst of it, but there is obviously, when it comes to Jax Taylor, a lot more. And again, this is why Jax it's brutal, because he goes through these things and you're like, fuck, like, dude, what are you doing? You're a terrible person. You're awful. And then he'll say something like, I'm really at rock bottom when Kristen Doute's coming over before noon. It's like, it's kind of funny. He throws these things out. He's in the after show and he's saying hilarious shit. And I'm like, you're such a terrible person, but god damn, you are made for reality TV. It's wild.
There's a reason that he's been on our screens for as long as he has. Yeah. I'm not giving him any kind of out here. Like, he is made for reality TV. You said it perfectly, but that's not a justification for anything that we're seeing here. And I hope that this whole thing is taken, like, maybe they did this intentionally to show him. I don't know, but I really hope that they handle this the right way, because this is not like a one-off bad fight. This is something that, and I don't really give a shit. I'll say this on our podcast because I don't care. I'm so glad that they are in the public eye and that they are on TV, because if they weren't, I'm not so sure this would have ended at him flipping tables and throwing chairs. I think this would end with him getting physical with her. And that's how these things tend to go. There's escalation factors. It starts here, bad argument, start throwing things. Then you make physical contact. I think that the only saving grace is the fact that they are on TV and that they are in the public eye. Maybe that kept him reeled in ever so slightly to avoid that. But that's where it was headed. That's where it is headed if he doesn't get the fuck out and if Britney doesn't get the fuck away from him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much kind of sums up the feeling of the last scene too, where it's like, Britney, you gotta, like, I know what you're doing and I know that you feel safe with the producers there, but Jesus, like, you gotta run. You just have to get away. It is a scary situation. It is wild. And she even said as much too. And she's, talked about the years in between Vanderpump and this. And yeah, they had their podcast and stuff going on, but she said that's kind of like when the downturn started. And we would say the downturn probably started when you guys started dating, but the downturn really started, especially with like the anger and all of those issues on those years without the TV show. So if we kept going in this direction, it would have gotten a lot worse. You might be right that the saving grace is that you are back on the camera. You are back in the limelight. So there is a lot more at stake here.
Yeah, but as these two are discussing things, he does what he always does. He's like, I'm not justifying it, but there is a reason. It's like, dude, she hooked up with your best friend. Or not even you've been hanging out with a dude for a year. So it's not your close friend. It's an acquaintance that you probably drank with.
Michelle's been hooking up with Aaron for longer than a year. And you're going to say this?
Exactly. It's like, grow up. You guys were separated. And the fact that he's trying to flip it and be like, well, I'm not trying to play victim, but I went through the iPad and there was all of these text messages and there was all of this and I'm not happy. And there's a million things. My dad, my sister, I don't have a mom. I can't talk to her about it. It's like trauma dump, trauma dump, trauma dump. Woe is me. This isn't my fault. I've got too much going on. I'm so sad and depressed. It's like, dude, no one cares. And when you say things like, what about me? Actually, they do, because people are checking on you.
And that's the thing. When he keeps pining about, oh my God, nobody's checking on me, he really just means Britney. And it's not Britney's job to check on you. We talked about this. Like, she was still dropping off groceries at the house, even though she moved into an Airbnb while she had the kid with her. Like, you were alone in the house and she was dropping off groceries for you. She's still checking on you. She still thinks it's her responsibility. And that's really sad. but all of these people are checking on you. We get multiple scenes, and yeah, you get tired of talking about the same thing. Unfortunately, you put yourself in that situation, buddy. You got to talk about it. You need to discuss it to try to work through it. If you're just going to lie about it and just downplay all of Britney's feelings and all of the scariness that's involved with it, then you're not going to learn anything. But you can't be pissed off that people are making you talk about it and then say nobody's checking on you. Everybody came to your house to go check on you.
100%. And the thing that pisses me off the most with him is he's like, you know, I have all these things going on, then I vent and I take it out on my wife. Kristen takes that as a lead and goes, yeah, and you don't know how badly Britney's affected by all of this. Jax just said, I take it out on her.
Mm-hmm.
Kristen confirms, yeah, it's really hard on her. And he goes, what about me? No one checks on me. Kristen is literally checking on you right now, right in this very moment. And Kristen's the only one with the balls, by the way, not these two fucking idiots that we're going to see later, that checks you and says, no, dude, you're the one fucking up. You're the one that's creating the problems. You're at rock bottom. And if this isn't rock bottom for you, I don't know what is. You can't see your kid alone. Your wife is estranged. You're living alone in this sad fucking house doing coke all day and drinking every night. So you're not good. This is not a Britney problem. This is a Jax problem. And Doute's fed up. And Jax goes to the confession. He's like, you know that things are bad when Doute comes to your house and tells you that you're fucking up. It's like, yes, exactly. So what do you think's going on right now, Jax? And the thing with this, the whole, I'll save it till we get to the end. It's just like, it's so fucking frustrating to watch him lead one direction. She jumps on the same train. You're right. This is like tough on her. And then he goes, yeah, but what about me? No one cares about you.
Well, yeah. And I think we look at that. I'm surprised that you haven't gotten to the point where I am, where you don't get frustrated by Jax anymore. Because it's like, yeah, I expect him to do that. Of course he's going to say something like that. Of course he's going to do stuff like that.
I didn't until I saw the damage he does to Britney. Then it changed things. So up until this season, honestly, actually, you know what? It was Big Bear last year.
So you think there's a limit somewhere in there that he's going to be like, fuck, shit.
No.
You don't? Okay.
Like where he's going to realize what he's doing?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Yeah, I don't
and I think that the 30-day stint in a mental health center is not the root of the issue. Yeah, you have mental health problems. Those are exacerbated by your drug use. Go to a fucking rehab center and get rid of your addiction, or do the steps to try to get rid of your addiction. That will also help you address your mental health problems. But for some reason, you're on TV getting outed and you still hold on to it, that you're not like a fucking addict.
The mental health problems that he's playing into right now is exactly what you said in episode 1. It's him playing the victim. That's his card of playing the victim. If he says, I've got mental health problems, I had a dad and a grandpop that yelled, but then come right back down and be like, you know, I don't think my dad would be proud of me. It's like, what are you talking about? You just said that your dad was yelling and basically you, so he's a terrible person. But you don't, you know, and obviously there's probably some actual issues in there somewhere. Not my job to fucking diagnose that. What do I care?
No.
But here you are still trying to play the card of, oh, I've got mental health problems and it runs in my family. We're going to see a little clip where I'm talking to my sister about it. And yeah, that is helpful that she's telling you to at least go fucking figure it out. But you're trying to use the I've got mental health problems to play the victim card, to say, guys, I'm going to go figure out what's wrong with me, which is what he did, by the way, every season of Vanderpump, going to the reunion and saying he's going to go work on himself. This is what he's doing again. He just thinks by going to a facility, people will take it seriously and then be like, oh, Jax, you're figuring it out. Good for you, buddy.
That's
weird.
The thing.
No.
Yeah, that's what he's done. It's what he's always done. So now that we're at this point where it's like this big quote unquote come to Jesus moment, it's like, dude, this is the same old song and dance. It's just the stakes are higher now because there's a kid involved. But this is the same person you've been since season 1 of Vanderpump Rules. Yeah. So I'm not falling for it. I'm not falling for the shtick. I'm not feeling bad. I don't have sympathy. I don't have empathy. You don't get to lean on mental health and addiction to exonerate your behavior for over a decade. It's just, that's not how this works. It's not how recovery works. And I'm going to talk about that when we get more towards the end. But we get Zack and Britney. And as we know, these two are a little bit estranged. They've had a tough year ever since the comments that Zack had made. They have, Britney confirms in this scene that she did intentionally take a step back because she was so rattled by the comments, which was surprising to hear, actually. I was like, oh, wow, really? I wonder how much Janet had to do with that. Was she in her ear like immediately after? Like, that's a pretty bold claim to be like, yeah, after he fucked up, I was out for a year. It's like, Jesus, like,
Yeah.
that's kind of heavy.
This is why I can never really, and obviously the Jack stuff aside, when it comes to Britney as a person, when it comes to Britney's friendships, I can never really get behind Britney as a person that I really like to watch.
It's tough
because she does shit like this. She's always done stuff like this. You've known Zack for a very long time. You're out for a year because of that. You didn't hear his side of it. Zack didn't tell you his side of it. You didn't try to figure it out. You didn't try to mediate between the two. If both friendships are very important to you, you were just out. And we can see now very visibly that you're a lot closer to Janet of all people. So you've got Janet just sipping or putting some poison in your ear, trying to get you away from Zack, and it worked. And now you're going to just say that out there, and you think that people are going to be like, "Oh yeah," like I just don't get it. That's again why I can't really ever get behind Britney for a lot of this stuff.
Well, with her friendships and stuff, it gets tough because she can be so easily led astray, as you see here. As Zack said last week, he's like, she's my person. I am her person. We lean on each other out here in the valley. And then all of a sudden it's like, poof, she's gone for a whole year because of fucking Janet of all people, which sucks. But as they're talking, we get a little Jack's update. He keeps saying that he misses Cruz. And then he texts her like, check on me, show me you care. If you have time to send pics to that asshole, you have time to check on me. It's like, I can't say this enough. One, you're separated. No fault. Two, I wish she fucked your brother. I wish she fucked somebody that you're so close to that it hurt even more. The fact that it's some guy you knew for a year. No,
just because I don't know what Jax would do in response to that. So
that's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, we're in new waters here.
This is new territory. You're right.
This is why it's so fucking difficult to actually like wrap my head around when it comes to stuff like this. Especially because we shouldn't be seeing stuff like this on reality TV, especially Bravo. This should be maybe in a scripted show. And even when it's on a scripted show, I'm very uncomfortable because I don't think we should be watching that type of shit, but it happens. So, it can be important if they do it the right way and they convey the right message at the end of all of this. But where we are right now, it's like, I don't know. Watching something like that, if she were to take it further, I don't know what Jax is going to do. He's already taken it way further than it ever needed to go, than it ever should be. I don't know how much further he's willing to take it. So
yeah, that's a good point. I guess don't poke the bear more. Just protect yourself. That's a good point. But they talk about Janet, and the minute that Janet gets brought up, Brittany's like, "You guys got to figure it out," and Zach's like, "She's just as manipulative as as Jax." I agree. I think she's extremely manipulative. Britney doesn't see that. Zack does, obviously, and then Zack starts crying, and she's like, "Oh my god." Like, "Oh my god, are you crying?" He's like, "Yeah, just one sec." So clearly he's upset about this whole thing, and he starts to go into it. He's like, "Dude, for the past year, Janet drove a wedge between you and I, and it's all about the comments that were made." She's like, "I needed space. I needed to take some time from him," which I still think is wild that happened.
Yeah.
But Zack's got shit going on too, and Britney seems to be his only really close friend from what I gather from this conversation, and he starts talking about Benji, his boyfriend, who I met at the Southern Charm premiere, by the way. Delightful human being. He's the man.
Yeah.
Him and Riley were taking pictures in the photo booth all night. It was very funny, but big fan of Benji. But they broke up because Benji's from Canada. His visa did not get renewed, so he's getting deported. And because of that, he broke up with Zack, saying, "I want you to have everything that you want in this life, and I'm not going to be here, so I want you to be free." And Zack was clearly crushed by this whole thing. So he's trying to navigate his relationship with Benji. It's the first guy that he's like really, really into. So he posited, "Let's move in together." We'll see how that goes later. But that's where the scene ends because Cruz kicks some water up, lightens the mood. Great mood reset by Cruz there.
Yeah.
It's very serious. Let's kick some water up. Boom. Everybody laughs.
Everybody's going to have a good time now.
Nice job, Cruz. Well done, kid. But we get to my favorite duo on this show. And I would argue that this needs to be everyone's favorite. There's no way that you don't like these scenes because you get Jesse and Michelle. And I figured out why they're so fun. They both kind of suck. And that's what makes it fun. One of them, I think, sucks less, but they're both kind of shitty people. And it's just two shitty people that probably should never have gotten married in the throes of divorce.
1,000%. Yeah.
But they're talking schedule because up until this point, they've done 2 on, 2 off, which, good schedule, sure, all that. Jesse wants to amend it a little bit because he's been traveling. So he's like, well, I don't want to get in a situation where it's like, oh, you need to take her because I'm traveling. And Michelle's like, well, I haven't done that. You're the one that's traveling. Blah, blah, blah. They go back and forth. They get in a fight about the nanny, which all the nannies are her nannies because he's like, you drop her off to the nanny. She's like, who's the nanny? He's like, that's irrelevant. She's like, no, it's not. It's like, wow, you guys literally fight about every detail.
I took it immediately as just like, I'm just putting a schedule out there. Like, it's very funny to watch people who very clearly despise each other right now actually have to sit down and try to be productive. It's impossible, but it's so funny to actually watch. And all he's trying to do is just like, here's the schedule. I've got this beautiful calendar. I've got a little M. I've got a little J. And we just kind of swap back and forth. We've got a nanny on Monday. Who's the nanny? It doesn't fucking matter. I'm just saying we drop her off at the nanny. Well, who's the nanny? You just want credit for picking out the nannies. That's what you want here. That's all we need here.
She goes with it's my kid too.
Funny.
I need to know the nanny.
God, it's so funny.
But and I agree with Jesse here, that she tries to paint him as this like absentee father, that he's, not a good dad, which I think is fucked. I don't think that's fair. And like we say this all the time, we go off of what we're given here at Pros and Shows. We like evidence. We like to see things. From what we've seen with Jesse and Isabella, he appears to be a good dad. He appears to be attentive. She clearly loves him a lot. I also forgot to point out in the beginning of the episode, Aaron is getting I love yous from Isabella, which is fucking wild to me.
She's 4.
But I understand
Michelle's
that.
doing, by the way.
That's my point. That's my point entirely. I'm not blaming the child.
But that's why when they're going through all of this and he's actually breaking down, I'm like, oh, Jesse's actually probably feeling something right now because we see this and it's, you're a bad dad. We saw this at the party last week. You're trying to paint me as a bad dad because I buy her whatever she wants. Like, she doesn't understand money. She just gets things. I spoil her. Who the fuck cares?
She doesn't understand money. You didn't teach her.
By the way, what single dad out there isn't going to spoil a daughter? Every single one. That's how that works. So you can't give him shit for that. And Aaron definitely can't give him shit for that. So let's not bring that up. Let's just leave that one alone. Maybe you lost that one. Maybe you just take a loss to the chest there, Michelle. No? Okay. We're still going to paint him as a bad dad. And now we're finding out that she's saying, I love you to Aaron. Like, it's just, the whole thing's a fucking mess. Now they live together, by the way, and they live a few blocks away from Jesse.
Oh, that's so dysfunctional.
To make it easier. Oh, dude, I cannot wait for next season already. Or even just the reunion, because they just moved in a couple of weeks ago. Aaron and Michelle live 3 blocks away from Jesse to make it easier. And Jesse seems to have some sort of relationship with Aaron going back and forth. It's got to be fucking hilarious.
Woof, that is going to be wild to watch. But he's defending his dadding abilities, right? Yeah. And, I'll dive into the vault here a little bit. I was a single dad for a little while, and it's weird. It's tough. It's tough out of the gate, not because, you love your child any less or anything like that, but you're so used to living with a partner, like having another parent to help you out. So I moved back to Philly. All of a sudden, my daughter's here. I'm a single dad living in a house by myself. I have a job. I'm trying to get back on my feet, and I have to take care of a child. So I actually empathized with him when he's like, I struggle every single day trying to find a balance with work, social life, my daughter, all of these different things. It's like, I genuinely think that he's being real. I think that he is trying to do his best. He's trying to navigate this. It's new. It's different. He's trying to do the best that he can for Isabella. And the fact that he gets emotional about the holidays, my first Christmas without Poppy, I sobbed with my family as my parents were putting up their Christmas tree. It was because you've never had a holiday without your child. Yeah. That's a real thing. That fucking stings a whole lot. Let me tell you, don't love it. So when he's talking about the holidays, because she's like, oh, it's my year. It's like, well, okay, in any divorced relationship, one person gets Thanksgiving, the other person gets Christmas, and then you switch. Or you figure out a different way.
Damn straight that by next year, Michelle's going to be like, well, now we have to go alternating because we can't just do this. We live a couple of blocks away. Everything's going to be fine. You can take her for Thanksgiving. I'll get her for Christmas. That's how it's going to work. He's not going to get both the next year. And I get the sense that he probably doesn't want both. He probably wants the alternating schedule. and they weren't talking about it. So if it were to come down to it, he'd probably give in, which is even worse because it seems like, again, he's a good dad and he's the star of the show and everybody should get behind him. I don't really get it.
It was just heartbreak. She's like, oh, here you go, crying because you want people to feel bad for you. That's what I was like, I think he's just sad because he just realized he's not going to have his daughter for 2 major holidays in 1 year. And yes, it's really fucking hard to have a holiday without your kid, especially it never gets better. The first one is really fucking hard, let me tell you. So I felt bad for him here. And I think that he is a good dad. I think he's trying to navigate this. I know that he fucked up too. I know that Michelle has reasons to be angry at him, but when he said the line, I don't know why she hates me so much or so mad at me. I get I was a shitty husband. It's like, all right, acknowledge that. But she cheated on me. I didn't cheat. I didn't hurt. I was like, that's a valid point because
but that's what I think makes this dynamic so fun to watch is the hypocrisy. And right now there is a lot more hypocrisy on Michelle's side than there is Jesse's side. It'll flip at some point, of course. But right now, the amount of things that Michelle is holding Jesse accountable for, he could easily hold her feet to the fire and say, you do the same shit. They were doing the same thing. That's why they broke up. That's why they should have never gotten married in the first place. You've known Aaron for a year. You bump into him. I'm sure you bump into him a lot at coffee shops and at the hiking trail and at his house. That's where you bump into him the most. But you're still going to do this and be like, well, I need to know who my daughter's around all the time. And what's going on with this girl? Because I've heard some things. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you nuts with this? This is insane.
It's wacky. And it's like, I get that first and foremost, like being a shitty husband is hurtful. So like, I don't want to minimize that part of it. And like talking about last season when she was like, he was pretty much MIA for the first year of Isabella's life. Like that's fucked. So valid point there as well. But when he brings up the cheating room, allegedly, whatever. But when he brings up the cheating thing, he's like, yeah, but because she's like, I swear on my mom's life. He's like, well, you swore on our daughter's life that you didn't cheat on me. And I found out that you did. And she's like, well, let's talk about the girl you're dating. It's like, well, that's not the same thing because he's single. And he's dating somebody that you don't like because she sounds kind of nuts, by the way. So that's valid. But like, that's not the same thing as cheating on your spouse.
Yeah. You're going to tell me that Aaron's not nuts, by the way? Come on.
Aaron sucks. That dude sucks. I hate him. But anyway, it's, again, I am fully in the camp of they're both shitty. And that makes it very fun to watch. But anyway. We keep trucking. We got Jax, Danny.
Wait, are we not going to talk about Sheena?
Did I miss that? Oh, shit. That's right. We get the phone call.
That's how we find out. Yeah.
That's right. My bad. I forgot. I even wrote Sheener Shay. We do get a phone call with a little true or false. Did the girl that Jesse's seeing say that she was boinking other people? Correct. Verbatim. It's the guy from Baywatch. So then I was like, Jason Momoa? But I guess
I said David Hasselhoff. So
wow, that would
if it was the Hoff, I'm Team Michelle.
If it was the Hoff, I'd be Team Michelle.
No, if it was the Hoff, I'm Team whoever the fuck Jesse's dating. I don't know her name because
that's right. Yeah, that's nothing to do with Michelle.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Someone said it's a J name. People are asking in the comments.
I think it's from the new movie, the one that Efron was in.
Jeremy or Jeffrey something. I think I could be wrong there.
I've got the J still up.
Double J
because I was looking into it. Jack Kessie, John Bass.
Is there a JJ name on there?
Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
No,
it's not him. Vernon Davis was in this movie.
Really?
Yeah. Hasselhoff.
Is there a new show? Maybe there's a new iteration on like.
It's got to be a new show or something. I feel like we should probably be looking at the. No, there's no. It's got to be from the new movie, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, this infuriated me because one, I'm like, as soon as Michelle says it's Sheena, and Jesse's like, well, I'm just gonna call her right now. Just keep moving forward.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked it.
I know, no. From as a Jesse stan, I'm like, Jesse, you don't want that. You do
Jeremy
not want to
Jackson.
call.
Hold on. Russ Davis. There you go. I knew it was a double
Fuck is
J.
Jeremy
That is
Jackson?
that is who it is. Jeremy Jackson is the guy. Well done, Russ.
See.
Nice job.
See if Jesse's hotter than him.
Yeah, let's see if Jesse's hotter than him.
Oh, wait, it's from the old Baywatch?
What?
Oh no.
Stop.
Oh, let's see
What does this dude look like?
this is what he looks like now. Can't really see it with the fucking camera. Holy shit. I mean,
that
maybe that's not
hair.
now. That's probably like 15 years ago.
Oh,
I mean,
Billy
he hasn't
Big Deal's
been in
got it
anything.
first. Sorry, Billy. There you go. Wow, that's nuts. That guy?
Yep.
Okay.
That is absolutely nothing to brag about.
Maybe she was a fan of the show. You had her. Wait, you were all down for the Hoff, but not Jeremy Jackson?
Who isn't down for the Hoff? Do we have any Germans in the chat?
I'm not German. I'm down for the Hoff.
Yeah, well, that's very fair. SpongeBob fans too. Yeah, no. Look, bringing Sheena into any situation that has to do with any sort of marital affairs or somebody hooking up with somebody else, just don't do it. Just don't do it. Save yourself the trouble. I don't want to hear from Sheena.
I
What?
like it.
You
I
want
like
Sheena back? Are you like excited for Sheena and Lala to be on the show? 'Cause
No. I'm so nervous that they're gonna fuck it all up. But like this, if she does this is her role. Like where it's just confirmed verbatim. Roger that. Like, yeah, I'm down for that. If she just confirms rumors on the phone, done. I'm gonna be annoyed when Lala, because Lala's gonna come in and she's gonna say to Jesse the same thing she says to every dude that she doesn't like. You're a narcissist. It's the same old song and dance. Like, that's what's gonna happen. Bet it. But anyway, we will get to Jax, Danny, and Jason in the second part of this episode. So stay tuned. It's coming up right after this one. It's posted already. So just click the next one and listen to that one. But we're gonna get into the heavy shit. And this one might take a while. So I thought that we'd do a two-parter to spread it out a little bit because I have a lot to say about the second half of this episode.